Today we're here at SOAS Brunei Gallery here in Russell Square, looking at the exhibition titled Legacies of Biafra. This exhibition commemorates the 50-year anniversary of the Nigerian Civil War that took place in 1967 to 1970. So I would like to invite you all to please come down to Brunei Gallery in Russell Square to see the Legacies of Biafra exhibition running until the 24th of March. Now, when you come here, you're going to find a variety of artworks on display by the Nigerian Artists Society UK that range from paintings to sculptures to archival materials, films that narrate and tell the stories of lives of people that lived through the Biafra War. And I hope you enjoy it.
So I'm Louisa Jumabunike. I'm a lecturer in English at City University of London and curator of Legacies of Biafra exhibition. The Legacies of Biafra exhibition is a partnership between the Igbo Conference and Nigeria Art Society UK. Conversations began in 2014 when there were a series of events to commemorate the First World War, the 100th anniversary of the First World War. And it got me thinking about the absence of these conversations around Biafra. 2017 marked the 50th anniversary of the outbreak of the Nigeria-Biafra War, and we really wanted to work to put together a series of events that would create a space for these conversations. So in 2017, the Igbo Conference, which is convened by myself and Yvonne Mbanefo, sought to do that. We had a 3-day event with speakers from all over the world, and it really was a unique opportunity to reflect on the impact of the war, both locally and globally. This year, we've teamed up with the Nigeria Art Society UK to put together this show, which will go on tour for the next couple of years. And really, the exhibition was another way of engaging this conversation, to engage a different audience, and to sort of use a sort of more visual approach, audio-visual approach, to thinking about the impact the war has had. Often when people discuss the Nigeria-Biafra War, it tends to focus on the politics in terms of the sort of big men involved, and tends to erase the experiences of the people who really sort of lived through the hardships of the war. And also it's an important moment, 50 years after the war's outbreak, to really take stock, to think about not just the war itself, but how the war has shaped and changed the landscape of Nigeria. But not just Nigeria, also internationally, how Africa has come to be depicted partly through the images of the war that circulated in the 1960s, and to think about contemporary conflicts, issues around displacement, whether it's due to wars or whether it's due to environmental challenges and changes. So the issues that people face during Biafra are still very contemporary, and our world is increasingly divided. And I think it's important that we take time to think about these historical moments, these watershed moments, and what we can learn about them today, and how this can help us to forge a future, a sort of more peaceful future. Initially, we'd hoped the exhibition would open in Nigeria, given the importance of this conversation to Nigeria. But whenever you discuss anything related to Biafra, there is this sort of a pullback. People are quite nervous of a conversation around Biafra, because there's an assumption that to discuss Biafra is to somehow promote succession or is to open a wound. But this wound has never healed. And in silencing a conversation, you just end up with tensions that don't go away. So really, this was a move to generate a space for a kind of very constructive conversation, with the intention of trying to bring about some sort of resolution. So as a result, it was difficult to get sponsorship for this exhibition. It was difficult to find a gallery in Nigeria to host this exhibition. So we began here in the Brunei Gallery. The Brunei Gallery is known for its openness to various conversations. It's a gallery linked to SOAS, and SOAS specializes in the study of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And the staff at the Brunei Gallery have been wonderful in supporting us in the build-up to and installation of the exhibition and subsequently. My institution, City, also put some money in, helped fund this exhibition, and without the contribution of both these institutions, it would have been very difficult. The Igbo Conference also, which I'm part of, has been instrumental in both the promotion and development of this exhibition. So the idea now is, now that we've had this, or now that we're having this very successful show at the Brunei Gallery, we will take it on tour. We're in conversation with numerous venues, and we will tour the exhibition for the next few years. 2020 will mark the 50th anniversary of the end of the war, and so for the duration of the next 2 to 3 years, this exhibition will be on tour, and more information will be released over the coming years about that.
Good evening, Hassan. Thank you for talking to us about your painting. Could you please just let us know a bit more about the process in which you created this piece, and also how you arrived at the title, Oh My Africa, in response to the exhibition Legacies of Biafra?
Sure. Good evening, Helena. Oh My Africa started out as being a collage, and I've been doing collage for a while. My collage elements tend to be disposable materials, things that come into my home, maybe from the shops, from the grocery stores, such as boxes of cereal, or things I pick up, or things that come through my post door, such as leaflets from mail order people trying to hustle me, or maybe even pizza deliveries. So that's how it's made essentially. But on this particular piece, I've done my collage on canvas. I normally do it on board. The title, Oh My Africa, comes from my lamentation about the plight of my continent, Africa, a continent which was named by foreign people, and a continent whose constituent countries were once, were created as, very haphazardly, and sort of cutting across lines of ethnicities or religion, just created haphazardly for the purpose of making them easier to exploit. The relevance of Oh My Africa to the Legacy of Biafra exhibition is in the fact that the work is dealing with the fragmentation which occurred as a result of the slavery and the continuity between slavery, the pacification and the colonialism and independent countries of Africa, and then the ensuing civil wars which occurred in quite a number of them right after independence.
I mean, within this piece on canvas, is there any particular reason why you chose to have a circular shape? Because canvases we're used to is usually square or rectangle, but you've chosen here a circular shape. And also, within the surface, I can see lots of, I guess you're using chalk. So in terms of what was the first layer that went on? Because seems to be a build-up of different layers that's gone into this piece.
Yes, First of all, it's round because it's in my series which I call the World Series. And the World Series, given the notion that the world is round, so therefore I've stretched a whole load of canvases which are round, and I've got a number of pieces which are coming up in this series which are round. And the whole idea of the World Series is to show the interrelationships between me, my race, and the world, the rest of the world. There's also other round elements in there because there's so many different worlds. We hear of first world, second world, and third world. We don't quite hear of first world or second world. We tend to hear more of the third world, which is a world where AIDS reigns supreme, which is a world where economic disadvantage and poverty and civil war and strife and greed and fraud and immigration, migration from Africa to the first world, which is not exactly ever called the first world, but we are called the third world for whatever reason. So this whole denomination, the whole sort of segmentation of the world as three different worlds is the reason why not only is the main surface round, but then within that main surface there's other worlds. The one world up there is the world of Europe. The world of Europe, which saw my world, the third world, as a giant piece of cake, which was just there for their chopping up at their whims and at their pleasure, and the dividing up of the country of the continent even, for the dividing up of the world to meet their needs to exploit for raw materials and other things, and for political control as well. We now know that not only the European wars of the 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th century were caused by the need for economic advantage of one European nation over the other. We actually know that the First World War was caused by the need for economic advantage over the others. Europe competing amongst themselves for leadership and for control and for dominance, one country over the other. So, yeah.
So I was going to ask, do you think it's important that the role of an artist is to sort of address this kind of issues, or what would you say is the role of the artist in society?
I think the artist has a much greater role these days and forever. In fact, even from before now, to not only create an art that's for aesthetic purposes only. Art is not only meant to embellish or to beautify the world of some rich guy. Art should be for the purpose of changing society for the better. And my purpose as an artist is to create an art that not only creates education and information for others, but also helps or aims to instigate a conversation around things which I believe need my intervention as an artist, as a thinker, so with the hope that it will bring about change. The reason why I'm involved in the Legacies of Biafra exhibition is not because I believe that the state of Biafra should be realized. It's not because I believe that one part of Nigeria should secede from the whole rest of Nigeria, but it's about time that we as Nigerians began to talk. We shouldn't have any topic in our country that is taboo, that we are not allowed to discuss. Because if we discuss and we are engaged with the issues that confront Nigeria today, we will be able to achieve and fulfill our greatness.
Great. Well, so being that you are the president of the Nigerian Art Society UK, and I know there's been an increase in African art lately, and I just wondered, in terms of within the group of the Nigerian Art Society, do you consider your artists amongst your group where do they fall within that circle of African art?
Well, UK art scene has always been very exciting, and at every decade or every period, every epoch, there's a focus on a different part of the world. When I came to the UK, the Soviet Union had just broken up, and Russian art was a big thing on the scene at the time. All the galleries in the West End and in the main districts for the arts, and then most of the public galleries were showcasing major Russian artists, and that became an international phenomenon. Soon after, there was then the Japanese art came on the scene. Then, in fact, there was the Islamic art that came on the scene as well at some point in time. Australian art was celebrated. In 1995, an effort was made, which was originated at SOAS, this very institution where we're having this exhibition, called Africa 95. The trend did not hold at the time, but through globalization and other initiatives and other opportunities, African art came to be celebrated. things and art, the art scenes would celebrate a particular art from a particular part of the world, and then the status quo is returned to, and everything goes back to normal where it was before. We as an art group ensure that the art is still ever present. We're still delivering the art to the audiences who have had their introduction to it through that sort of big sort of celebration, if you like, from the mainstream and from the major institutions. But we are here to stay. It's not for us, it's not just a flavor of the season or a fashion statement because it's in vogue right now. It's something that will be here for time to come, such that generations coming after us will have the springboard, if you like, or the threshold from which to develop their own artistic careers and also to aid the propagation of their own cultural ideals to a mainstream European cultural system that has hitherto not really quite understood aspects of our culture well enough to be left alone to define it.
So we're here with Chike Azonye, who's going to be talking to us about his painting, Ozomena. Chike, when you were given the brief of the title of this exhibition, The Legacies of Biafra, what was the first thought that came to mind in terms of how you were going to address this title?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was the experience of having to, be moving from one place to another during the war. And I wanted to see if I could place my work in that sort of region where I'll be talking about displacement and also the effects of the war. So I have 4 paintings in this exhibition. This is one of them. And this one I called Ozemena, which means let it not happen again, may it not happen again. And that's how this came about. So I did a lot of sketches and eventually came out with this. And in the process of doing it, things kept changing and changing until I have what you have here now.
So in terms of your reference material for this piece, were you working from photographs? Was some of it part of your memory from when you experienced that war in the 60s? And also if you just could talk a little bit about the symbols within this, because I can pick out quite a lot of few things from the sun and the kola knot, which I think I recognize right there in the top middle section of the canvas, and also your palette and why the choice of colors.
Okay. First of all, the whole concept of doing this happened to be the fact that there was no photograph. It's all from memory. And these were all my childhood memories. Well, when I mean childhood, I was about 9 years old when it started, when the war started. So my first shock was going to the village to see women and not wearing anything. I never seen it before. But I got used to it because it became part of my daily, something. And this was only necessitated by poverty because there's no food, there was no clothes, nothing, So it was quite difficult to see what was going on. So everything that you find here came about as something that I experienced. And so they all came out from memory. There was no reference to any photograph or anything. And talking about the symbols, I have a number of symbols like the kola knot. I have the uli design here, and I have the insibidi there and then. And in the course of this interview, I'm just going to explain what they mean. Yeah, so that's from everything here is from memory. Nothing actually from photographs. Yeah.
So for those of us that don't know what the uli symbol and the unsibidi symbol is, could you please elaborate a little bit more?
Well, insibidi it's like a language of the Ekpe cult, and they use it to communicate within themselves from the Igbo area of the country to the Efik, the Calabar people. So they're able to decode that. We have to be part of, but now we can understand some of these symbols, not all of them. In this case, the symbol here shows that during this period, this was happening. You can see children with kwashoko and their parents with extended tummies. Was a period of strife or separation, and this is why they're all facing different directions. Yeah, and then here you find the kola nut, which also is very, very symbolic in the Igbo land to mean the 4 market days, and also something that you give to people. So it has a very significant position in the lives of Igbo people, the kola nut. Then the black area behind the kola nut also, it's when you split the kola nut, it comes either at 3 or 4 pieces. So that's what that means, in that direction. And then you have the dove, which signifies peace, and then another CBD over there, which is now conjoined, which means there's kind of unity in the country, even though we're still struggling to make sure that this purity, this unity is also of a good quality, something of a purity, has purity, not just talking about unity when we're still going through a number of strife in the country. Yeah, so that's for the symbols. Yeah.
Great. So I feel like at the top side of this canvas, we've got, with the white dove symbolizing sort of peace and hope, and the kola nut, which in a way is a symbol for life as well. To an extent, I'd imagine, except I've got it wrong. And, and also at the bottom, you've got the crosses, which almost seems much darker, maybe almost like a life and death and kind of reality on both sides of the canvases.
I can explain that to you because what is happening here is the reality of war, the starvation that people face during the war. And then people were always on the move because as soon as you settle down, then there's another series of bombing and people are always on the move. I remember as a child, I kept moving and moving and moving until our tired feet could no longer carry us. So that's what this reminds me of. And this is the daily kind of things you see every day, children with kwashoko and stuff. So that's the reality of the day, and then you have the separation here. But the other aspect of it is down there, where you have a lot of people who lost their lives. So there, the place for remembrance, where people who lost their lives during the war have not even been remembered as they should. There should be a big memorial. The Igbos, Yorubas, Hausas, everybody lost somebody in the war, whether we want to accept it or not, even though the greater number of people that were killed were Igbos. But every tribe must have lost somebody, either through fighting or something. So that's the main aspect there. And then the setting sun means that these people, their sun set early, so they just died, have they died in vain? So are they going to be remembered, or are they just going to be forgotten? So that's that area. That's why I have a lot of red and a lot of somber atmosphere there. Then the whole picture is about Nigerian, the past, present, and future of Nigeria. If you ask me what will be my kind of future idea about the country, I would want a country that is united, where love and unity is, can be felt and experienced, where justice, can be experienced by our people. But the war has left a legacy, and unfortunately, we're still experiencing that even with what is happening in the country now with the herdsmen. This is part of the legacy that eventually we hope that Nigeria will come around and begin to enjoy the rich resources we have, both human and natural resources we have. Now, moving over there, it's Nigeria today. The three tribal groups and the other tribal groups within Nigeria. The question is that, are we able to sort out our problems in this period of existence? Maybe not. So that's why I have over there on top the children of the future, or those yet unborn, who I feel will bring some kind of new kind of order into the country. I don't know, but I'm thinking that the children of the future will do that. And then when that happens, so all the things about religion and tribal sentiments and all this nepotism will be a thing of the past. That's my prayer. And then peace will eventually be allowed to reign in the country.
So we're here with Imosi Imonige, who's going to talk to us about his painting, Enigma. So Imosi, if you could please tell us a bit about the painting and how you went about addressing the theme for this exhibition, Legacies of Biafra.
Yeah, the painting Enigma is actually the enigma of a nation. It's talk about the happiness in Nigeria with the connotation of Biafra. If you look at the work properly, I kind of use a figurative, that's instead of using figure, in literature there's what we call personification, where you use things to personify. Like if I want to say Kule is a lion, I does not mean that Kule himself is a lion. I'm saying he possesses the attribute of lion. So if you look at the painting, you see the trees. They are representing the different groups in Nigeria. The major group, that is the Hausa, the Igbo, and the Yoruba, while this one represents the minority. That one, that starts with the red baron, start for the crude oil we produce in Nigeria, which is the bone of contention in Nigeria at the moment. And if you look at the illustration properly, you see the white that entangle the trees together, that forces them to bind them together. Is the white, that white rope thread represent the British that forcefully amalgamate Nigeria together, which is the problem we are having today. And you can see the Igbos, they are trying to pull out of the union. But they say, no, you can't go. That's why you see blood dropping out from the tree, which is the blood of the Igbos that have been spilled from the war from the beginning of the Biafra and Nigeria war till now. They are still killing them. That's why you see the blood is still fresh and it's dripping. You see the boot there, which represent the power, the authority, which the Nigeria government used to subdue these people. That is the military force that are ever present there. And you see the water, the riverland area is polluted with this water. And they don't have water, they don't have food, they cannot drink water because their water is polluted. Everywhere is polluted. And you see the branches, the trees, they don't have leaves because everywhere is barren. People are suffering, no food. You can see the atmosphere is polluted. See, nothing is growing, no leaf, no grass is growing, everywhere is barren. To show that this money belongs to everybody in the country, but particular people are taking it. And you see, you can see the Hausas. That the center tree we represent the Hausa is very bold and big. Those are the people enjoying the oil that Nigeria produce. And that was the Yorubas, they are very close to them. It's only the Igbo that try to pull away. That is why they want to grow up, they will still breed them down. That's why the trees breed down. See, eyes are looking, mouth are talking. People as we see around us what is happening. So people are talking. People are seeing, they are looking. So that's why the eyes and the mouth and the teeth are there.
I'm very intrigued with the way you've composed this painting. I mean, it's very painterly style. I believe you're working not with brush here, but with palette knives with your process of working. And your colors are quite somber, with the blues. But I was quite shocked by this eyes that's just piercing out in the top
right-hand corner, or right-hand for me, and the lips or the teeth, and and the general palette for this is very red, the red and the blues, and the earthy colors as well, with these trees which you've talked about being very barren. But is Nigeria really a place with no growth, where nothing's really prospering or moving in the right direction?
Yeah, that is how Nigeria is. Because one, the people that are enjoying Nigeria, the political people, the political class, the elite class, the normal citizenry in Nigeria, they are crying. People are crying. No, look at what happened this December. No fuel. People have money, they cannot even buy fuel for their car. I will say we are the people that produce fuel. We have oil in our land. So does that tell you Nigeria there's no progress there? That's what I'm saying.
So we're saying...
Look at even the blue sky is dirty. The blue is the dirty blue because of the pollution everywhere.
Okay. So again, I'm going to... This might sound like a controversial question, but... Do you think, just maybe, so just kind of wondering, the fact that this show right now is happening in London, in this space, in central London, we're very close to the British Museum. We are now looking at this piece where you've put on this white rope that's tied both these three different cultures within Nigeria together. How important do you think it is for this show of this kind to happen in Britain today? Considering the role that the British played in Nigeria during the Biafra War?
Yeah, you see, like, even at present, because they were the people that amalgamate Nigeria together, they still want Nigeria to be one. We all want one Nigeria. Nobody want Nigeria to break off. But what we're saying, we need a fair ground for every Nigeria to be able to start. If they can help, if there's anything they can do about it, I believe is the way they divide our road system they place in Nigeria. That is what is still happening today. If there's a way they can reverse it, I don't know. If there is anything they can...
Is that the role of Nigerians, or is that the role of another country? Is that the role of Nigerians to reverse it themselves?
Because they still have a very significant effect in Nigeria even at today. That's what I'm trying to let you understand. Yeah. They still play the important role in Nigeria. Yeah.
So we're here with the artist Raymond Soko, who's going to be talking to us about his mixed media piece titled Unbiblical Code of Bad Governance. Good evening, Ray. So I'm really interested in this piece in terms of how you went about addressing the theme of this exhibition, which is the Legacies of Biafra. So what does that mean to you, and how did you go on about creating this piece?
No, basically, I looked at this piece. I mean, when you look at Biafra, you could look at the causes of Biafra, the build-up, and the aftermath of Biafra. I prefer to actually deal with the aftermath of Biafra, because in natural sense, what happened was that the title is Bad Governance. And what happened, Biafra was a war that was fought because the country was supposed to be split, or there was supposed to be a secession. And what actually happened was that the military came in. And as we're talking now, you understand, the military, they're still there. You know, the military came in, they pillaged the country, they messed it up, you understand. Basically, now we've got corruption, we've got bad governance and everything. But the sad thing about it is that even when the civilians came in, it's not that they improved on what the military did. Basically, the civilians, it looks as if they even bought into this whole corrupt nature of military regimes, you understand, bad governance, making wrong decisions or whatever. And it's basically affected all sections of the country. It's affected, I mean, on a tribal basis, affected us. Now we become, okay, like, who is this, who is that, who is that? You know, we keep on asking ourselves these questions. And when you look at it, all the hardship that Nigerians are going through now is a result of bad governance that was started off by the military and is continuing now with the civilians involved. So that's about it.
And because this piece is loaded with symbols, you know, I can see the cockroaches and the mouse and all the details that's been engraved into this wooden panel. And it's quite dark.
It's a dark, it is a dark, I mean, it's a dark theme, right? It is a dark theme. I would explain it, right? Let's start from the middle, right? If you look at it there's a wheel here. And when you look at the wheel, you understand the edges have been eaten out by cockroaches. You understand? The middle of it, you've got, the edges have been eaten out by rats.
right, which represents like the politicians, corrupt politicians. Then in the middle of it, you've got cockroaches, scorpions, or whatever, you understand. That shows the decay of the country. It shows how bad things are. Then when you move out, right, but let's go down to the lower part of it. If you look at the lower part, their feet, you understand, that are actually pointing downwards. These are people who are not actually, the people who are the masses, who are not actually climbing up the social ladder. Their lives are getting worse day by day. Then you look at this part of it, you understand, you've got 3 feet here, you understand. These are feet that have footwear. The ones down there don't have footwear. These are feet that have footwear. This represents like the corrupt class, the politicians, the leaders, you understand, who've disappointed the country. And this is supposed to represent a castle that these guys built with ill-gotten wealth, right? Then when you come to the middle here, these are the masses. These are the masses, and when you look at them, it's a sorry state. In the middle of it, you've got a bulb. Bulbs are supposed to bring light, electric, right? But this is a dark bulb. So it's depressing. Then when we move over here, right? You move over here. You've got a symbol, part of a symbol of a cross, right? Then in that symbol, there's some Arabic there. Basically, what I'm trying to represent here is how our religion, our what do you call it? How would I just? No, not the conflict between. Basically, both of them are in it. You understand? Both of them are disappointed Nigerians. Now you get pastors going in and preaching, you understand. But basically, it's all about, not all churches, not all religious churches, you understand, but some of them go in, you understand, and preach about this prosperity thing. But it's all a way of actually screwing people up, stealing people's money, you know. But why I put the Arabic writing there, part of that Arabic writing represents sections in the prayer, our Lord's Prayer. It just shows that it's not that this corruption or bad governance affects one part of the country or the other. It affects both Muslims and Christians. Yeah, in between. Then when you come down, if you look at it, this is supposed to represent the Justice Department, Justice section of Nigeria. That's been sacrificed at the altar of darkness. You know, money, greed. If you look down, you understand, you could see teeth. Mm-hmm. And the middle part, you could see dollar. It's like everything's up for sale.
It's tipping down.
Yeah.
The others go.
So, yeah, that's about it really. And I'm not sure.
So I wondered, in terms of the Biafran War itself, what is your memory of that?
I mean, basically, I knew when the Biafra War started, because the Biafra War started on a weekday. That was the day I was supposed to sit my final primary 6 exam, 1967. I remember it clearly. Yeah. I remember it clearly. So basically, we had to close. I didn't go to school. I was taken to our hometown, and so I knew about it.
Okay, well,
Biafra was a sad thing in Nigeria, you understand? But sometimes you ask that question, you say, if Biafra hadn't happened, you understand, would we Nigerians really know how bad we are, you understand, with regards to this thing about greed, nepotism, you know? Yeah, it asks a lot of questions.
We're standing right in front of Ade Ogundimu's piece titled By a Thread. And my first initial reaction when I walked in and saw this piece was how very blue it is. That's the first thing I see. And there's tones of shades of darkness of blue that kind of runs down into a very light shade tone. And of course, I see the Nigerian map, the colors of the flag, Nigerian colors there. And then at the bottom, with strings pulling down the Biafran flag. So I just wonder, what are your take on this piece and what's the inspiration behind it?
Well, the inspiration behind it is this. The blue represents the sea. Like there's so much water in the whole world, you know, just a bit of land here and there. Now, we have a country called Nigeria, and we have a kind of division going on. The cracks on the map of Nigeria actually represent different tribes, different villages, hamlets, and all. We are never one, or we've never been one, so to say, till the British came and put us all together. But I'm of the opinion that since we're together, we should stay together if we can make it work. There's this Biafran war that went on in Nigeria. The Biafrans wanted to break away, because of what they were going through up north. I mean, Nigeria belongs to everybody, and what happened shouldn't have happened. And then the Easterners, not all of them though, decided to break away. Now, what I'm trying to portray, or what I'm portraying here, is we're better together. But I'm leaving it open for interpretation to so many other people. Now, if you see there are various holes on the bottom of it, that this map, Biafran map, was part of Nigeria. But people's vibes and evil thoughts and all just pushing it away, and people wanting to float away. Now, I'm leaving it open to the audience. Do you want it to remain as one, or as it's floating away? There's a rusty old scissors up there, very, very as old as Nigeria. You can take it off if you want to go. If you cut it, then that'll be us gone. But still, there will be problems, because even the rising sun on the Biafran map is floating away from Biafra. And they are fragmented as well. You have the Anambra man who doesn't want the Enugu man, who doesn't want the Ogu man, who doesn't want the Abakaliki man and all. No one's together. So what I'm saying again is, even if Biafra goes away, there are still some divisions in there. So why not just leave all that behind and let's stay together as one?
So you're saying that you're inviting anyone to come in?
Yeah.
Have you left instructions? Because I don't know if people know that.
No. I'm sure they'll be tempted to.
Because the idea when people walk into a space where they see art on display, they often feel like they can't touch the artwork. But you're actually saying you would welcome anyone to come in
Now
and
you
take
have
that
caught
piece of
on.
scissors.
Now you have caught on.
So am I...
It's the temptation's gonna be there.
Be there. Right, definitely. So I was going to say, right now, looking at what's going on in the world, we've got Brexit, we've got Britain leaving the EU, and it's started maybe this exactly, and maybe this will become a new movement that people that might just encourage other countries and things like Biafra to maybe bring back this idea of wanting to leave and become their own country.
Yes. That's what I hope as well. For you not to become your own country, just remain where you are. I'm not. I'm anti-Brexit. I'm a Brexiner. The Catalans as well. They shouldn't go. Stay where you are. Let's make everything work. Make the world a happier place for everybody. Not division everywhere.
So I'm sat here with the lovely Amifel Cliff Aribo. And we're going to be looking and talking about her lovely piece, which is behind me, titled My History. So tell me a little bit about this piece and what inspired you to create a film piece for this particular exhibition, which is titled Legacies of Biafra.
My history is about it's a reflection of people who were actually affected by the war Biafra. It wasn't a piece specifically for this exhibition. It actually stemmed from me wanting to know about Nigeria, know where I'm from, about my history, where I grew up, just my identity, my culture, tradition, just everything in general. And, reading upon Nigeria, I read about Biafra, and I realized that it was actually one of the biggest things that happened in Nigeria, and nobody's talking about it. So that's where it came from, just wanting to know a bit more about it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background in terms of where you're from, your family, and where you grew up? So maybe it would help in terms of put into context why there was this importance and this urge in you to want to find out a little bit more about your history.
I'm from Bayelsa State, it's the Ijaw tribe. I was born in Nigeria and I grew up here in the UK. I came here when I was 5. So my parents would always would always go on holiday back to Nigeria every year. So that proximity and that constant going back brought me closer to wanting to know where I was from.
Generally, based on what everyone was saying, was there a general, did you notice a pattern or things that were repeating themselves that people were talking about?
They were negative, not negative per se, but just upset about the fact that Nigeria doesn't remember Biafra, doesn't remember what the Igbo people went through. It's just that anger and upset. But I did get one guy saying that, oh, yes, it is the part of it is the Igbo people, that it's their fault for not actually helping themselves and relying on Nigeria. So the replies were,
What was your access point or your entry point into actually discovering what Biafra was about, or how you?
funny enough, I reached out to everybody that I could get my hands on, Ibrahim being one of them, to just let me know who's there that I can speak to, that can tell me their story so I can understand, that can actually just tell me their truth. I would get family members speaking about Ojuku, or I would hear the word Ojuku, and I would hear like Biafra, and I would hear my uncle say, oh, the Yorubas are this and Yorubas are that, but I would never understand. So when they were speaking, I took on their opinions. So I took on their opinions saying, oh, this is what I think of Biafra, and this is what I think of Ojuku, not knowing fully what Biafra was. So just that, initial encounter with the words, I then said, oh, I want to learn.
We're here with Anthony Undikamu, who's going to talk to us about his piece, Repercussion. So, Tony, your work is the opening piece when you walk through the doors. So, tell us a little bit about this piece.
Okay. Fortunately, it became the centerpiece for the brochure, actually, the easy for the design. The concept started with the idea of telling the story of the war. If you look at the first styles that turned up there, they started with the pogroms, the killing of the Igbos in the north, and down to the Aburi agreement between Gowon and Ojukwu, down to the disagreement that came out of it, probably by external influences. So I've tried to tell the story initially, then later started looking at all the other aspects of human strength, human behavior, human weaknesses that turned up during the war. So I used a lot of symbols, mostly from the Uli, and then I tried to get symbols from all over the world, kind of did a bit of an internet search of such to get symbols of things like courage, cunning, lies, deceit, death, resilience. They all play a part. So each single tile tells us a story. So instead of having a continuous narrative, what I did was now throw in the stories, because they happened simultaneously. While some people were being cowardly, some people were being brave. While some people were dying, some people were surviving and living. So every aspect of that particular experience got registered here. Yeah. So.
And in terms of the color as well, because if you repeated your palette you're using here is the red, greens, and the yellow.
Yeah, if you looked at the piece, you probably find the Biafran flag, but most of the time, this wasn't intentional. They all appear submerged, upside down, kind of. Because actually, when I did the work, I did them upside down without looking at so there was no pattern to it. It was just after making the tiles separately, and I now faced them down and wove them with wires. So they all turned up surprisingly to be upside down. I don't know why that happened, but. It's a question of looking at the legacies of that war. So it was a war in which the then head of state Gowon said it was a situation of no victor, no vanquished. That means we're not going to have reclamations for having tried to secede. Of course, we're not going to go into the historical concept, how the whole thing happened. But what I looked again at was like something like the lion here. People who consider themselves brave. You find a lot of imagery of the lizard, which says that if nobody praises him for falling down from an iroko tree and unscathed, then he's got to praise himself by raising himself. So, and if you look at the whole thing, there are a lot of fragments of different, and towards the end, it's like there's a case for secession who wanted to be by themselves, but at the end, everything integrated into green, white, green again. So despite the fact that we all wanted to break out, circumstances made it such that we had to stay in. I won't go without mentioning the importance of Shell in the war. Yeah, they played a very strong role in it, because what happened was the Northerners tried to secede after the pogrom and the Aburi conference finished, they decided to kind of leave. Then they were told by the British overlords that they will be landlocked. They didn't have any natural resources in the place, and that the oil was certainly found in the south, the Port Harcourt and Calabar areas, and that they cannot secede. They need to hold back the country together, which hence led to the war. And we fought this war, and at the end of the day, there's no closure with it. So it's these little fragments of discontent that keeps popping up from different, because recently even they had the IPOB and the MASOB and little organizations like that coming up because of the experience of it. If we had sat down and talked about it, okay, this is what happened, and how do we go forward? Of course, a few attempts were made, like the NYSC, which we set up. Some people went up north, all Southerners went up north to serve, and on paper it was a good idea, but we still had those instances where youth couples were killed, and nobody did anything about it. There's no recommendations for any, so it's like a place where there's constant rancor. British experiment that still keeps yielding heartache in a way.
What is interesting to me is you've chosen to use ceramics as your medium here, which can be quite fragile. And once broken, you can almost try and put it back together. But each time it's a very delicate piece,
very delicate,
and you've intricately woven it, each tile, with 4 joining sections next to each other to create this.
It's a statement to the fragility of the union of sorts, because the war was fought, somebody was defeated of sorts, and instead of us trying to put that behind us and move forward, we keep doing that marginalization kind of thing. They say it's a national cake. We have different standards in the country. Some people paid for education, some people are being paid to go to school. Of course, much as some people appear to be marginalized down south, even if you go up north, there is abject poverty there too, despite the fact that it appears like everything here, the Northerners are being marginalized in the south, but it's everybody in this same fragile union that keeps trying to break away with how people claim they want to have a Duduwa state, the Biafra people want to do a Nasser, or the Northerners want to have their own states. It keeps coming up and down. And the use of ceramics, these ceramic tiles, points to the fragility. If for any reason another war breaks out, I doubt the country will be able to hold itself together again. Okay, but we pray it never does get to that. Okay.
So how important do you think this exhibition is?
It's very important that we talk about this. Everybody tends to want to sweep it under the carpet as if it didn't happen. Some people recently tried to commemorate the death of about close to 2 million people that died during the war, and they got vilified and attacked and put in prison because they talked about it. Everywhere in the world, we've passed in the past. We don't need to dwell in the past, but at least we can remember it. People that died, their life was worth something. So I think it's something that it's high time we talked about it. Nobody's going to get punished. Most of the principal actors have probably gone dead. They are in their late 70s and 80s at the moment. So the people that did play part in the actual fight in the war, I was a kid when it happened. It was about 4 years or so when it started. So I'm here now, and I'm grown up, getting old. So we don't want to go back to fighting the war, but at least we can talk about it. It's become a taboo topic that nobody wants to address. I mean, there's no big deal about it. Just sit down, talk about it. Okay, you guys did this and so happened. Okay, we're sorry it happened that way, and let's move forward.